Don in London, hello. December 26th, Boxing Day. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance was alcohol. My behaviour could be equally addictive towards people, places, things, collecting, trying to be right, trying to be loved, trying to love back, and be useful in my life. But somewhere along the line it went a bit off balance, and it stayed off balance for a long time. And that was the day I took my first drink, and thereafter for some 30 odd years, probably 35 years, if not longer. So I crossed a line somewhere in that time, and the result was I couldn't stop drinking, I couldn't stop self-obsessing, couldn't stop looking over my shoulder thinking something or somebody was going to get me. Fear, putting on a brave face, and ego so brittle, if you punctured it, there was nothing behind it. There was nothing inside. Nothing to fight back with, except anger and resentment, probably. So these days it's quite different. Living one day at a time, a 24-hour program, courtesy of a fellowship, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I never speak for AA, can't, won't, never will, because it's full of unique, authentic people who speak where they will about their recovery as they choose. And I choose to share experience, strength and hope here on these videos, a daily one, just to keep me balanced, if nothing else, or making me look at me and my attitudes and behaviour on a daily basis. So I don't really put myself under the microscope, but I do consider not only what is best for me, but what is best for people I'm around and with. So when I'm included, I take account of most perspectives, not just mine. It's not all about me anymore. It never was, really. But I could be quite self-obsessed and not realise the impact I was having on other people. So how does fellowship help me? Well, the Fellowship of AA has been around for quite a while, and there's a preamble shared at every meeting which helps me focus on why I do these videos in the first place. And the AA preamble goes like this, and I read it out rather than recite it. If I read it, I'm trying to understand the meaning in the words. If I recite it, I can't wait to get to the end. So here we go. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, but you can guarantee that everybody inside it is allied to something, somewhere, political, religious or otherwise. But we don't bring it into fellowship. Does not wish to engage in any controversy. This is the Fellowship of AA. Neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, as they will, as we can, where we will, and however possible, just to share sobriety and help people with a desire to stop drinking, just for today. And when I first got to fellowship, I didn't believe what people said about their sobriety. I thought anybody who could stay sober a day at a time was quite extraordinary, or they just didn't like drink, or it did something peculiar to them which was different to what it did to me. But the truth was, it did exactly the same to whoever used to drink it, or whoever still drinks it now. It takes the edge off. It takes the edge off reality, takes the edge off the current experience we're having, either because we feel it improves or enhances the experience we're having. Maybe that's the reason why I drank in the first place, because life looked better with the drink inside me, and now I realise that life looks far better without a drink inside me. And that's the way it is for me, but I can't say how it is for you. It's just how it is for the person who is facing maybe addiction, and what that means in their lives. And don't forget, alcohol is a poison. That's why they say at the bar, watch your poison. And I would say alcohol, please, in the old days, but these days I wouldn't say that. I rarely go into pubs or bars. I don't need to put myself in a place where it's bad for me. It is bad for me, alcohol, if I were to take a drink today, I would feel pretty awful. And I feel in my heart I'd want to be sober as soon as possible again, and that would start again. So my attitude is, no matter what happens, it's better not to put any alcohol in me whatsoever. Anyway, Boxing Day, it's been great so far. I've been uploading photos for 2.5 days to get my archives up to date, and also I've been out with family, and I've seen all my near family, and that comprises of 9 people. Is it 8 or 9? Thereabouts. And we've had a good time. I went with some of them to the Tower Hill ice skating rink, and I took pictures, as I always do, and came back for lunch, had a lovely lunch, and took more pictures, and people getting their presents. So it's been good, and I've come back and edited those photos, and now it's almost time to go to a meeting tonight of the fellowship. But what I share here, not only about my personal life and what's working and not working, is the daily reflections from this book, which is all about the 12 steps and 12 traditions, one a day, one reading a day, and for each month, one step, one tradition. So 30 pages or 31 pages per month about one of the steps and one of the traditions. And they are the backbone of my recovery. So the steps of AA for my personal use, or personal living, and principles of living, around open, honest and willing to keep on changing my attitude and behaviour to fit reality. And the 12 traditions are about the fellowship, holding it together in unity, service and recovery. So 24 suggestions in all, keeping us on track a day at a time. Wherever that track is headed, we don't know often, because we start the day, and I had this conversation with my auntie this afternoon about who are we, or what is our identity. And she said, I don't know what my identity is. I said, no, auntie, but by tonight you might have a better idea of who you are for today. And that's really what it is in recovery. It focuses in the moment of now, in the spiritual connection to what is going on. We can only experience life in reality. Everything is a history otherwise, or is yet to happen. It's fantasy. So reality is our gift, if you like. The spiritual gift is to see it as it is. So when my feelings match reality, the reality of what's happening to me, when my feelings are the right size for that, and only I can tell by the end of the day probably, then I know I'm probably as spiritually connected as I can be to life and what is going on. And I had a great laugh taking photos and making jokes, not at people's expense, but just laughter for the sake of laughter about what is life. It's very humorous, but I know for years and years and years it was tragic, and I was decaying and dying, and now I'm not. Well, I'm not decaying and dying any faster or slower than anybody else. Life is as it is today. And that's really what December 26th in the Daily Reflections is all about. It says here, accepting success or failure. It reads, furthermore, how shall we come to terms with seeming failure or success? Can we now accept and adjust to either without despair or pride? Can we accept poverty, sickness, loneliness and bereavement with courage and serenity? Can we steadfastly content ourselves with the humbler yet sometimes more durable satisfactions when the brighter, more glittering achievements are denied us? So can we accept life on life's terms? And for me, yes, I can most of the time, but when my feelings don't fit my experience, when my feelings seem to be bigger than the reality, or less than reality, it's an alert to something not quite right in the balance of me. And it reads on, after I found AA and stopped drinking, it took a while before I understood why the first step contained 2 parts, my powerlessness over alcohol and my life's unmanageability. So step 1 reads, came to believe, well, no, what's wrong with me? This happens on occasion. I suddenly can't remember something, and it's a good thing that I can't. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. I just had an unmanageable moment. So we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. That's when we drank. So I still feel powerless over alcohol, people, places and things, and that's good. I understood why the first step contained two parts, my powerlessness over alcohol and my life's unmanageability. In the same way, I believed for a long time that, in order to be in tune with the 12 steps, it was enough for me to carry this message to alcoholics. That was rushing things. I was forgetting that there were a total of 12 steps, and the 12th step also had more than one part. Indeed, it's a very long chapter in the 12 and 12. Eventually I learned that it was necessary for me to practice these principles in all areas of my life. In working all the steps thoroughly, I not only stay sober and help someone else to achieve sobriety, but I also transform my difficulty with living into a joy of living. So when it's joyful, and when it's sad and horrible, it's sad and horrible. But my feelings fit my experience. So happy or sad, my feelings fit the experience. And it took me a long time to understand that spiritual isn't a higher state of consciousness as such. It's understanding our emotional state in relation to our life experience. So when people say that the fellowship offers a program of emotional and spiritual living, indeed, emotional, all about our feelings, and spiritual, living in the moment, seeing reality with warts and all, everything to do with life, not just the nice bits. So I'm lucky, really. I'm getting somewhere at last in living my life, and I'm only 54. So it's nice to get to this stage. And when I went out today, I didn't have fear and trepidation of seeing my family like it used to be in the last few years of my drinking, where I would drink solidly, appear reasonably sober in my own eyes, go home and drink like a fish when I got there, and not be able to stand either my own company, and if I couldn't stand my company, it was very hard for other people to stand my company as well. So it was very difficult for everybody, and I didn't realise the impact I was having on people around me. I thought it was just dreadful for me, and they were all having a good time, because they always seemed so cheerful. And most people are cheerful if life offers it. So I was blind to a lot of what was going on around me, and these days less so. But also it's taught me that when other people have tragedy, sometimes they want to talk about it and share it, and sometimes they don't want to talk about it, and they definitely don't want to share it. And there are moments, just simple moments, where truth comes out, and it's perfectly okay to have tears of joy or tears of sadness, because they are what they are. So we don't have to hold them back. We can express these things and not shut ourselves down. And part of my problem was that I did shut myself down for a long time, because I felt so hurt by my life experience. And I was bloody well hurt by it. But I made it worse by drinking on top. And I never really sorted it out until I started to get sober. And then I still felt fearful and shameful and guilty. And even now I can still look back with shame and guilt and think, my God, did I really do that? And I have to remind myself that if I can forgive others, I would be very egotistical if I didn't offer the same forgiveness to myself. And you might say that's the wrong way round. Forgive yourself first, so that when you forgive others, then it's really genuine and authentic. And I will struggle with that forever, because sometimes we all flare up and think that's not right, and I feel angry and resentful about it. So we learn and we learn and we learn. Anyway, from the big book, this one, Alcoholics Anonymous, I just wanted to, I've lost the page, no I haven't, page 83, where it's about into action, and it's about the promises of the fellowship after step 9, or around at that time. And it says here, the spiritual life is not a theory, and there is the answer in the statement. The spiritual life, that is living now, is not a theory. We have to live it. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not to urge them. In other words, whilst we might be finding a spiritual life which we understand, and it's a personal understanding which counts, we can't then start to push it onto other people. That's called proselytizing. Which is why I say in these videos, if it works for you, fine. If it doesn't work for you, don't do it. And it's most important that we all find our own path in life, even if it takes us a bit of a longer time to get to the truth of now. like it did me a very long time. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Our behaviour will convince them more than our words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness, or more in my case, would make a sceptic out of anyone. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that if we could put it right, we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. This is about step 9, making amends. We send them an honest letter, and there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate and humble without being servile or scraping. As God's people we stand on our feet, we don't crawl before anyone. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others, that our feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And as God works through people, and that's where most of my wisdom comes from, I have no argument about that at all. But I did when I was an atheist and an agnostic, and even when I was a God believer. I still want to argue. It's just me, I guess. But no, I don't these days, really. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled amongst us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. And when it talks about fear of people and economic insecurity, which will leave us, who can that be? The most important part for me when it talks about loss of fear, it doesn't mean that we're going to be okay economically. It means that on a daily basis we cover our needs, which means our wants are forgotten. So we are pragmatic maybe in recovery about what is possible and what is not possible. And when it seems that we couldn't have done it on our own, the actual truth is we learn from others around us. And in fellowship we lean on each other. We lean on fellowship. We don't just lean on one person. If we tried that, we'll probably bring them down with us. Because sometimes it seems the burden of keeping sober requires more than just me. It requires a whole fellowship of people who are like-minded to listen to that experience, strength and hope on a daily basis, so I may see a better way forward, and not necessarily my way. In fact, mostly it's not my way anymore, and I'm glad about that. So at the end of my videos, the serenity prayer, which is all about can and cannot do, the things I can do and the things I can't do, in order to live a more serene existence on the planet, where my feelings are matching my experience today. And whether we believe in God or we have our own understanding of God, which is most important, a higher power of our own understanding, which is unique and authentic, and we can access in living our lives, or simply good conscience. And in good conscience, how can I improve the situation, rather than I want it to be my way, when in fact it can't be my way. That's how the serenity prayer works for me. So to God, all good conscience, as you come to believe or understand for yourself your unique, authentic take on how life works, I guess, with the help of others. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me is just for today.